Les doy la bienvenida, entonces, como les digo, súper emocionada de lo que vamos a ver de la mano de Beatriz. Y ahora sí voy a pasar a hablar en inglés, ya para presentar a nuestra speaker. So, hi everyone, it's super nice to be here with you. We're super glad that we have this top speaker with that is going to share with us the experience that she has within digital research. We are super happy and honored to have her within our house, within our Flipados community. And I'm going to share a little bit about her, about Beatriz. She is a digital anthropologist from University College of London, service designer, UX researcher, currently working at a Brazilian furniture retailer, and has previous experience as working with startups and as a service designer at the largest private bank in Brazil. So welcome, Beatriz. We're super happy to have you here. How are you today?
Hey, hello everyone. Good evening. I'm fine. First of all, thank you, Natalia, for the invitation and also for the kind introduction and for the warm welcome. And also thank you all for joining the webinar today. I'm super excited as well to share a little bit of my experience. So as Natalia already said, the idea of my talk is to talk about digital research, more specifically how the subdiscipline of digital anthropology can enhance our UX research practices and our research practices in general. This will be the agenda for the talk. And at the end, Natalia already told, but we will have time for questions and answers. So I will be more than happy to answer all of your questions at the end. Again, I know Natalia already did a super nice introduction, but I would like to talk a little bit more about my professional background. So as she mentioned, I'm a digital anthropologist and I have previous experience in service design, and I'm currently working as a UX researcher. So I have a bachelor's degree in publicity and marketing. And since that time, I started working at the innovation department of Itaú Unibanco, which, as she said, is the largest private Brazilian bank. And I worked at the innovation department as a UX researcher, as a service designer. And I stayed there for like 5 years. And I have a master's degree in digital anthropology from UCL. And when I came back to Brazil, I started working specifically as a UX researcher, first at Gympass, which is a Brazilian global wellness startup. And I'm currently working for Tokstok, which is a Brazilian furniture retailer, also as a UX researcher. So I like to talk a little bit about my professional background, because all the content that I will show here, that I will bring, it's a combination of my academic side with my on-the-job experience. So I try to relate the discipline of digital anthropology with my UX research practices. So the starting point of my talk is answering what is digital anthropology. As I see, this subdiscipline can have a lot of different concepts and different perspectives, but here today I will bring my perspective that I want to share with you. And as I said, I really believe that this subdiscipline can enhance not only conventional anthropology, but also our UX research practices. And the point of my talk is also to show how we can apply this knowledge, this subdiscipline on our daily routine, our job routine, to really enhance our research practices. But before answering what is digital anthropology, we need to take a step back and answer what is the discipline of anthropology. I'm sure that you all know already what is anthropologist, and maybe we also have some social scientists here today, but I would like to to talk a little bit about anthropology, just to give a context for digital anthropology. So I really love this quote from a Brazilian anthropologist, Eduardo Viveiros de Castro. And he says, if anthropology is a science of something, it is undoubtedly the comparative science of the relations that make us human. I really love this quote because he uses the word comparative, the word comparison, and in the end, anthropology is all about comparisons. It's the comparisons of different ethnographies. We learn by comparing different groups of people and observing them. And he also draws our attention to the question, what are the relations that make us humans? And I guess this is a super powerful question because all the time we somehow are trying to address or answer these questions, not only as anthropologists but also as researchers. At the end, we are always trying to understand what makes us human, what is behind our interaction with people or other things such as digital technologies. So I really like this quote to explain what is the discipline of anthropology. And the point here is to really to talk about and understand human relations. And also we need to answer, what is the digital? I know that we can have a lot of different conceptions of it. We can give a lot of examples to the digital. And more than that, I guess that nowadays, this is a super recent topic, and we all have been discussing about the digital nowadays. And more than that, I'm almost sure that everyone here, at least once on your job, has already the challenge to really understand why people interact with digital technologies. So why does someone interact with an app? How is this relationship? How is the experience? So I think talking about the digital is super important. And as I said, we can have different conceptions of it. We can explain the meaning of the digital through a lot of lenses. But here, when I'm talking about the digital, I mean digital technologies. And still, we can have different, a myriad of possibilities of digital technologies, such as algorithms, social media, mobile phones, virtual worlds. So as we know, we have a lot of different digital technologies. And that's why talking about digital anthropology is super important because, as I said, maybe we all have this challenge to really understand this relationship when we are trying to understand a digital product or a digital service that we are working for. But also at the end of the day, we as researchers, even though we are studying a technology, at the end, what we are really studying are people. So as researchers, we are studying people and relations all the time. So that's why I think the subdiscipline of digital anthropology is super important. And by combining these two perspectives, what is the digital and what is anthropology, we can have digital anthropology. And based on that, we can say that this subdiscipline can be seen as the study of relationships between humans and such technologies. And more specifically, this subdiscipline addresses cultural and social implications of digital technologies on society. And I also see this subdiscipline as an approach to critically perceive the impacts technologies are having on the world. So I guess that nowadays it's super common that we hear that we don't have like real interactions anymore. We don't talk to each other anymore. We don't have like face-to-face meetings. We are all the time looking at our screens. And on the other side, we also hear that technology, that it's all about progress, and we can find all the solutions we need through digital technologies. And I guess that digital anthropology is also a mindset that stops us from having such a polarized view about the technologies. So it's not about saying a digital technology is totally good or totally bad, but trying to understand what are the implications, what are the social implications that derive from the relationships between humans and digital technologies. So for me, that's the most important thing about this discipline, because we can use it as an approach and as a mindset to really try to understand the relationship between humans and digital technologies. And I know I have discussed a lot about what is digital anthropology, but you might all be asking yourselves, okay, but what can I do with that? How can I apply such approach? How can I apply the mindset and approach of digital anthropology to really enhance my research practices and maybe my work as a service designer? So from now on, I will try to show how I think we can apply such approach and mindset. So the first thing for me is a way to do that is to treat the digital as a technique. And so we can use the digital as an ethnographic site. So for example, we can have as our ethnographic site a Facebook community or a game, and we can also use the digital as a technique. And now I will dig and explain more in more details what I'm meaning about these two pillars. So talking a little bit more about the ethnographic side, as I said, I gave an example of having, like, for example, a Facebook community or a virtual game as our ethnographic site, and I guess that if we think about a classic anthropologist, we might all have the image of a guy, an anthropologist, who goes to the middle of the Amazon rainforest, for example, and stays there living with with an indigenous tribe and live there for a while. But when we are talking about a digital anthropologist, instead of going to the middle of the Amazon forest, we can go and study. We can have a digital field site, such as a Facebook community or any other virtual community, Reddit, or also a game. So that's the difference, is having a digital realm as our ethnographic site and not only a physical place. And by talking about ethnographic site, it's also important to talk about digital ethnography, which is also known as ethnography, which is a really, I guess that it's a methodology that has been super used recently. A lot of researchers are conducting digital ethnography or an ethnography very often nowadays, which is an online ethnographic method applied to understand social interaction in digital contexts. But my point with this is also to point out that we can also face some methodological dilemmas when having an online ethnographic site. I see that it's very common nowadays to see a lot of researchers saying they are conducting digital ethnography when they are only observing, like, comments on social media. So, okay, I'm studying a Facebook community and I go there and I just read the comments and, okay, I say, I found this, I found that. And maybe they combine this observation with 2 or 3 interviews. And my point here is to say that this is not a digital ethnography, because you are just combining 2 methods in isolation and you are not really thinking about the context. So to really conduct a proper digital ethnography, you need to be aware of the context, to really apply the ethnographic thinking. And so now, for me, actually, I guess that in order to really conduct a proper digital ethnography, we need to be aware of all the crucial components of classic ethnography and transfer them, and more than transfer them to the digital realm, we need to adapt them to the digital realm. So for me, that's a way to really make sure that we are conducting a real or a proper digital ethnography and really have like better results, better data. And so now I will show what I consider, what are the crucial ingredients that I consider crucial to really guarantee somehow that we are conducting a proper digital ethnography, and then we have a methodological rigor. So the first point is participant observation. And also participant observation fieldwork is a foundation of cultural anthropology. So it's a crucial ingredient of ethnography. So as I mentioned before, the idea of the classic anthropologist, he's not, when he goes to the middle of the Amazon forest, more than being an observer of that group of people, he's also a participant. He is living there, he is engaging with the people he is studying. So participant observation is crucial. And okay, we can say that this classic anthropologist can use his body to inquire. So he's physically there, he can see verbal and non-verbal communication and so on. And when we are talking about the digital, I know this can be a little bit more challenging. And as I put it here, maybe we can also have an embodied presence if we have a virtual avatar. We are exploring a game, for example. So if you have the opportunity to have an avatar, I mean, go for it, because you can also have a sensorial experience. But even if you don't have the chance to have an embodied presence, you can still be a participant observer when we are talking about the digital realm. And here the point is to fully engage. It's not about being physically present, but to really engage with the community you are studying. Because I guess that the central point of participant observation is to study and to grasp the difference between what people say they do and what they actually do. So that's the point of participant observation. And when we are transferring this to the study of a digital realm, we have to adapt this, not adapt, because this is also present on the classic ethnography. We really need to engage and establish a connection and being part of the community. The point is to create bonds with the community you are studying. As a second point, I would like to talk about holistic contextualization, which is all about understanding the entire context. So again, if you are studying a Facebook community, you cannot only like see the comments and understand a person or a group of people for only or by only reading what they are posting or what they are showing to you on this online community. We cannot isolate the multiple contexts in which a person is involved. So try to understand the context, try to see what are the main religion of this group of people, the gender, the economic situation. Try to link all of this information in your favor and try to understand the entire content, the entire context. And depending on your research question or on what you are aiming to explore and find out, maybe a good way is to combine online and offline observation. Because again, maybe if you combine both observations, you can collect more plausible data. And again, you are going to have the view of the entire context. Another important ingredient is time. Actually, when we think about classic ethnographic research, they are a method super known for its long time span. So this anthropologist that I am talking all the time that goes to the middle of the Amazon forest, he would probably stay there for 2 years, like living with this community and so on. But when we are talking about the digital, I'm not saying that you need to stay like 2 years studying an online community. First, because I'm almost sure that your boss or your client wouldn't be that happy to know that you will only bring data or results after 2 years. And also because we can change, instead of focusing on the time span, the long time span, we can think about frequency. So again, the point here is the frequency that you enjoy, that you join the community you are studying. So this brings us back to my first point about engaging. So if you keep a frequency and you engage with the community you are studying online, you can also collect good data and insightful data. And as a last crucial component in order to guarantee methodological rigor when conducting a digital ethnography is language. If we think about, again, classic anthropology, when we are going to study a community, of course, knowing the language is super important. Otherwise, you can't understand what they are saying. And okay, it's also possible to have one of your participants, one of your informants as your translator. But of course, it's much better if you have the language knowledge. And when we are talking about the digital realm, this is of course also true. But also, I see that we should consider digital forms of expressions as well to collect data. So for example, memes. Nowadays, we communicate a lot through memes or emojis. So try to go beyond the verbal language and try to explore all types of digital communication when researching a virtual and online community. So this is just like the most important points, as I see, in order to really guarantee that we are conducting a digital ethnography, and we are not, as I mentioned before, conducting a poor ethnography or a digital ethnography by only observing, because like digital ethnography is not solely observation. We need to have this ethnographic thinking, and again, just about the context. Context is everything. And just to illustrate a little bit more, what do I mean by having an ethnographic side? I know I have mentioned, but just to highlight, we can have games such as Second Life, Fortnite as our ethnographic side. And again, if you are studying a game, you can have an embodied presence by having an avatar body. So again, if you have the opportunity to have an avatar body, just go for it, because you can also have a more sensorial experience. And we can also have like social media. And here we have a plethora of different possibilities to have social media as an ethnographic side. And here I would highlight the importance, again, of having holistic contextualization. So try to understand the context and not only what people are showing to you or posting on their timelines. And again, depending on your research question, it's also good if you combine online and offline observation, especially when we are studying social media, to really guarantee that we are understanding the entire context. Moving to our second pillar as how we can really apply this digital anthropology mindset and approach. And as I said, about having the digital as a technique, another good way to do that is using the digital as your research tool. By that, I mean to use the digital platform to really conduct the research, not only observe or as an object of study, but really to conduct the research. I will give an example, and I guess it can help and I can be more clear. So in order to illustrate this pillar, I would like to talk a little bit about a recent research study that I have conducted. So I conducted a diary study through WhatsApp. My research objective was to understand a furniture shop journey through an app, so from purchase to delivery. And instead of conducting like a normal diary study, I decided to conduct through WhatsApp. And just to clarify before explaining how it worked, it's also good to just explain what is a diary study, which is basically a qualitative methodology that allow us to really grasp how someone interacts with a product, a service, or a prototype maybe, and try to understand what are their feelings or how is the experience. And we ask these participants to write their feelings, how is the experience going, by taking notes on a physical diary. So they use a physical diary to report all this data and how is this relationship with this digital or not, or a project during a short period of time or a determined period of time. And we can also ask questions or just a more generalist question. And here, going back to my case, I did this, but instead of using a physical diary, I decided to collect data through WhatsApp. So I asked my participants to really, here, as you can see in the image, I was every day in the morning, I was like asking them to conclude some tasks and to explore the app, the furniture app. And until the end of the day, they should give me some answers about how they felt, how was the experience with the app in that day. And also, just to give a little bit of more context, before conducting the WhatsApp diary study, since I was really trying to understand how my clients interact with this app, I conducted some usability tests in order to check or to find some inconsistencies or bugs. But after conducting the usability tests, I was still in the need to find more about the experience of my clients with the app. So I was trying to find how they really feel when using the app. That's why I decided to also conduct WhatsApp diary study. And here, by having the WhatsApp as a research tool, I would like to share a little bit what I have learned and some tips, I don't know, that if you use a digital technology as a research tool, that it's really important and that you should maybe go for it. So the first thing is to really think about and consider the affordances. By affordances, I mean the relation between an object and the opportunities for action that the object affords within a specific environment. So, for example, when we think about a door handle, like the shape of the door handle almost leads you to the action of opening the door. So it's basically like, put it in a simple way, it's like how the shape of an object leads you into an action. So I don't know, our keyboards, when we see our keyboards, we really instantly want to type. So it's basically this relationship between the shape of an object and how that shape leads us into an action. So when we have a digital platform as our research tool, I really recommend that we pay attention in how we can use these digital affordances in our favor and really explore them. And here in this WhatsApp case, I really try to explore, for example, voice messages. Most of the time, as you can see in the pictures, my participants, they just only type at the end of the day, how were they feeling and how was the experience. But I also ask them sometimes to send me voice messages, because of course we can obtain feelings through tone of voice. So I know if I ask you, oh, how was your experience when buying a furniture? You can say, oh, the experience was good, or oh, the experience was amazing, I totally love, I'm super happy. So I mean, the two people are basically saying the same, but through their tone of voice, you can really understand how they are really feeling about your solution. So in this case, you can use voice audios in your favor. I also try to explore, as I mentioned before, the usage of emojis. So go beyond like and try to use all types of communication that the digital realm or the digital tool can offer to you. So again, as you can see here in this picture, at the end of each day, I asked my participants to answer how were they feeling after concluding the tasks of the day or after interacting with the app. And they should answer me by using one of these emojis. So of course, if my participant replied with the in love face, I know that the person, she or he, is super happy with my app. But if he replies with this angry face, it's like almost sure that she or he doesn't have a really good experience with the app at that day. So again, try to explore digital communication and forms of digital expression beyond typing to really understand your users. And the last point that I would like to point out is that WhatsApp is a asynchronous communication, which we can also use this in our favor. So what do I mean by that? If I were conducting a study through the phone by interviewing my participants, it means that me, like the interviewer and the interviewee, should be at the same time available to talk to each other. So like a synchronous communication. But WhatsApp it's an asynchronous communication because my participants can answer whenever they want. So it allows more freedom to the respondents because they can answer whenever they want. And also, while I was conducting this particular diary study, I remember that the majority of my participants, they used to send me messages during the evening. And through that, I could start posing some hypotheses. For example, people interact more with their apps during the evening, or people like preferred to buy furniture during the evening. And of course, my sample here, since it was a qualitative research method, was like only 14 participants, and I couldn't really say 100% sure that this is a fact, but I could also uh, create at least this hypothesis, and now I can validate in future research by a quantitative research. But also having this asynchronous communication, we can also use this again in our favor in order to collect more data, and maybe the time my respondents answer me can lead me to understand a little bit more about their usage. So basically, this is the WhatsApp diary study. And just to wrap up everything I have discussed and showed, I would like to share some what I'm calling digital research tips, which are basically what I have learned so far as a UX researcher and as a service designer. So the first thing that I know, I already talked a lot, but it's the central point is really to fully engage. So it doesn't really matter your methodology or anything else, but you really need to fully engage with the group of people you are studying. This will guarantee better results, and you will be able to find more data, otherwise not possible. So that's the real, not only digital anthropological mindset, but the anthropological mindset, like really engage with the people you are studying. Second point, go beyond classic methods. So I showed like WhatsApp diary study. I mean, we have a lot of different methods, and just be creative and try to create different combinations. We have a world of combinations to make it. So I think we all, as researchers, service designers, we should really start going beyond classic methods. Again, use technology in your favor, not only by combining and adapting classic methods, but as I mentioned, use emojis, use memes in order to understand people. You can have online ethnographic site. You can conduct your research research through digital platforms. So really try to use this in your favor. The point number 4 is also related to tools. And actually, I would like to share two research tools that I have used recently, and I really recommend, especially considering the time we are living in, that remote research is almost a constant because of the pandemic. So the first tool is called user testing, that you can see in this picture, which is basically a tool that helps you to recruit participants all over the world. So from Europe, from the United States, Australia, and a lot of places around the world. And it's really good because really after, I don't know, 30 minutes, you have all your participants recruited, and you can have one-on-one interactions, and you can conduct in-depth interviews or maybe usability tests. The only downside regarding this platform, it's because it's paid and it's a little bit expensive, but if you have the budget, I would recommend. And the other tool that I really recommend is called Look Back, which is this first picture here. That is a phenomenal tool to conduct especially usability tests, because you can see your user's screen at the same time you are conducting the research. So you can see where the person is clicking, you can interact with the person, and also it records your entire conversation, your entire section. So it's really helpful when you are conducting the analysis, because if you are not sure about a specific point, you can go back. This is also paid, but you can also use the free version. You can have a trial, and you can I really recommend, because it's super nice. Number 5 is ethics. I mean, it's not only because we are conducting online research that we can forget about the ethics, because most of the time, like if we are studying social media, and I don't know, we can consider social media as a public space, a public sphere, even though we can claim that, I guess that the most important thing is to really let your participants or the people you are observing, you should be transparent and let them know that they are being observed, and don't forget about terms and conditions. So I guess that ethics is also an important point when we are talking about digital research. And my last point that I consider crucial is the onboarding. By onboarding, I mean explaining step by step for our participants how the interview, the test, the study will work. And if you are going to use a digital tool, a digital technology platform such as user testing, look back, or even if you are going to conduct the study through WhatsApp, you should explain your participant how to download, how to use. And I know that most of the time we take for granted that everyone is used to WhatsApp, for example, but it's not 100% true. So just use onboarding as a crucial step of your research plan and your research conduction. And this can also save time from the interview or the I don't know, a usability test conduction, because sometimes we lost a lot of time by setting everything. And so giving explanation beforehand to your participants also allows, or your participants can feel really comfortable when you are going to conduct the research. So I would say that these are my main digital research tips. And I would like also to share some reading references. The first book is specifically about UX research, and here you can find a lot of different methods, and I would recommend you all to try to combine and being creative about these methods and how we can adapt, transfer with the digital realm. And the other 2 books are more specifically about digital anthropology and virtual worlds. And now I'm opening for questions. So maybe I will have a look on the chat. I don't know.
Perhaps I could, then again, thank you very much, Beatriz. I think we have a wonderful evening guided by you, such a wonderful presentation. So thank you very much. It was a complete honor. I think you reinforced the need of context, the need of observing beyond what we think is evident, and innovating with these tools, these approaches that we have, and of course, the basis of ethnography, be it physical or digital, engaging with that other that we're aiming to understand. And one thing that we always say at Flipa is that the digital is social, and I think you frame it with the things that you have shared with that and all of the experience that you have, of course. If you want, I'm going to read the questions that the participants have because some of them are in Spanish. So I'm going to translate it, okay?
Perfect.
So
Yes.
we have the first question from Juan Miguel, and Juan Miguel asks, by referring to offline observation, what do you mean? Do you mean by observing people in real life in the physical world? I think you mentioned it, but perhaps you could approach this.
Yeah, sure. So thank you for your question, Juan. Yes, this is exactly what I mean when I'm talking about offline research is to observe people in real life. So if you are studying a group of people on an online Facebook community, try to meet them on real words. Like this is not the best word, like because otherwise we can claim that the virtual is not real, but both words are real. But I know what you mean, and it's exactly this. Try to engage with this person's life offline. So meet them because maybe this is a good way for you to really understand the entire context. So I would recommend joining them on the offline world, conducting interviews, maybe face to face. So if you can combine both observations, it's really good, and you can again collect even better data.
Okay, thank you. We have another question from Jesus. Jesus says, do you think that the work that a digital anthropologist conducts is intense, even more intense than the one from traditional anthropology? What do you think about that?
Well, I think we can, I don't know if I can say that it's more intense or not, because I could be like delegitimizing, I don't know how to pronounce this word, the work of conventional anthropology. But I think it can be more intense because, especially if we are going to combine online and offline, we are putting and we are observing more elements than conventional anthropology. And I also think that when studying digital technologies, we also need to think about the technological side of it. So we need to be sure that we understand what we are talking about. Just to give an example, I have studied algorithms anthropologically. But to study algorithms, I need to understand what are algorithms. I mean, I'm not a technical person, and I couldn't explain for you in a really perfect scientific way what algorithms are. But I really need to understand what I'm studying. So I guess that in this way, I can say that it's more intense when we are studying digital anthropology, because we also need to understand not only the social, which is the most important thing, but we also need to have a context of what we are really studying. So what are algorithms, and then relate this to the social. So I guess I have answered your question. I don't know.
Yes, yes, you have. Voy a traducir las respuestas que está. I'm going to translate your answers.
Okay.
So, voy a traducir la respuesta que nos dio Beatriz. Dice, Jesús preguntaba, ¿crees que el trabajo del antropólogo digital es más intenso que el del antropólogo tradicional? Entonces ella dice que, bueno, pues efectivamente son dos miradas diferentes y lo que menciona es que inclusive puede llegar a ser más intenso porque se deben observar más elementos. Entonces se deben pensar en aspectos tecnológicos y ella ponía el ejemplo. Si, por ejemplo, estás haciendo un trabajo de campo que involucra entender los algoritmos o elementos que ya son un poquito más densos, tú tienes que entender ese contexto tecnológico. Entonces, no solamente se trata, según nos comparte Beatriz, de entender lo social, sino también esos aspectos tecnológicos y las relaciones que los humanos están hilando, que están embebidos, por supuesto, en nuestro estudio. Ahorita que caí en cuenta, pues justo estoy haciendo la traducción, que solamente lo estaba haciendo en inglés, pero súper, esa fue la respuesta de Beatriz. Luego dice, then we have another question from Diego. Are there any tools that are just for digital anthropology that we cannot use in the offline anthropology?
I don't think so. I mean, they are not exclusively from digital anthropology, so I guess you can also use them at the offline world. But as I mentioned, as for example, even if you are going to conduct an offline research, you can use the digital as a tool. So I don't see any problems about doing this. And again, I guess that this conversation is super valuable. So maybe you can try to think about how digital anthropology can enhance conventional anthropology. And so, but I don't think we should restrict the digital anthropology only to the online realm. Maybe we can also learn with the subdiscipline when we are talking about the real and the offline world.
Ok, perfecto. Thank you very much, Beatriz. So, lo que estaba diciendo Beatriz era que no creía, que básicamente lo que ella llamaba era como a la apertura de no solamente si estamos haciendo trabajo digital online o etnografía digital, tenemos que pensar solamente en estas bases tecnológicas digitales o en las mismas metodologías que están solamente restringidas para ellos, sino que también se puede mezclar lo offline con lo online. Entonces llama como más bien a la apertura. So do you have any recommendations for ethnographic research online, offline that involves the translation of language? Says Cristina.
I don't think so. if I have any recommendations for that. I mean, I'm just trying to, like, ethnographic research that involves the translation of a language. I mean, the only thing I can think about it is like having, as I said, an informant as your translator. And if it's, I don't know, you could also try to find a tool that it's really good to translate for you, not Google Translator. But also maybe you can also, if you are going to study the digital realm, try to use emojis, memes, and even though you don't understand the language, you can try to grasp the context through that. And also when we are talking about emojis, maybe I can share afterwards the link with Natalia. It's a link where you can see the most used emojis all over the world. So I don't know if you're going to study, I don't know, you're going to study Chinese people. I don't speak Chinese. I wish I could, but I don't. So maybe if I was going to study or conduct a research in China or in a specific region of China, maybe it's a good way to try to understand their memes, the most used emojis. I mean, this is not exactly your question, but I guess that the digital can also offer you data beyond the understanding of language, and of course, trying to have an informant which can be your translator.
Okay, thank you very much. So, what Beatriz, lo que estaba compartiendo Beatriz es que un punto clave, se pueden utilizar informantes como traductores de ese mismo contexto, de esos mismos códigos culturales compartidos. También menciona y propone que se utilice o se analice los emojis. Ella nos está diciendo que nos puede compartir una lista de los emojis más usados a nivel mundial para que uno vaya entendiéndolos. Y por supuesto, esto a nosotros, los que no han estado con nosotros en etnografía y van a empezar esta semana, vamos a ver cómo podemos nosotros ahondar y analizar en el lenguaje. So thank you very much. I'm going to read the next one. So Juan Miguel shares with us what are the books or articles or even theoretical frames or researchers that you would recommend on digital anthropology? I mean, you already, yeah, exactly.
I have a lot of references to share, but just reinforcing. I mean, for me, the Bible of digital anthropology is this book from Daniel Miller. And I would really recommend this book. I think it's super, super nice. And also, I'm a big fan of Daniel Miller because he's a professor from UCL, and I really like his job and the way that, and for he, it's all about combining online and offline research whenever you can, as much as possible. And he also has a really nice series that is called Social Media. Actually, it's more than that. I can't remember the name, but I can share the link with Natalia. It's why the world changed social media. And we have a book about the entire study. And you also have from China, Brazil, Italy, and much more countries. And it's super nice to really see how all these anthropologists combine online and offline research. And I also recommend this book from Tom Bolstroff, that he conducted an entire ethnography about Second Life. And he claims that he only studied the Second Life. He didn't interact with people offline. And he says that we can really study online words by only observing or interacting with them online. So I guess these are two really good books because you can really balance these two different views. But if you want, of course, I can send more books to Natalia. I mean, just let me know and I can give you more specific and readings.
Thank you, Via. Beatriz nos está diciendo que efectivamente uno de los recomendados y uno de los referentes más grandes en el mundo, si hablamos de antropología digital, es Daniel Miller. Daniel Miller es el segundo libro que ustedes están viendo en pantalla, que fue profesor además en la Universidad de Beatriz cuando estaba haciendo la maestría. Él tiene este libro, otros libros que son una secuencia del resultado de los estudios que ha hecho de cómo las personas utilizan las redes sociales en el mundo. Es fabuloso. Adicional a eso, también les recomiendo otro libro de Daniel Miller que se llama Stuff o Las Cosas, que también muestra cómo las personas se relacionan con los objetos en el mundo, y ella nos está diciendo pues que nos puede compartir más lecturas si lo quisiéramos. We have another question. They are super happy. They can share the questions with you. So we have this one from Hema. When it comes to observing the user, how can we know the user's journey if we can't see them? Is there a tool that can help us with a particular case, or can we rely on both voice notes?
Yeah, I guess this is a really interesting question because indeed it's a challenge. But as a service designer, I can say that sometimes I mapped like user journeys only by interviews. This is not like the most correct thing to do. We should also live and engage with our participants in order to really create a good user journey. But in this case, I would also recommend, in this case, it's also good to combine online and offline to really have a good user journey. And also maybe using again the digital as a research tool. So it's a crazy idea, but I actually did this once. Ask your participants to not only send you voice messages, but maybe to record. So for example, you are trying to map a shop journey. So ask your participants, oh, could you record yourself while you are shopping, for example? So maybe when the person is like, of course, recording, you can see exactly what the person is doing, where or she points, or I mean, it's a more plausible data. But maybe again, we can use the digital as our tool to collect data, even though we are not meeting them or interacting directly with them. So maybe we can do this. And I guess voice notes, it's really good in this case, because when we are creating user journeys, it's also nice, like we need to map their emotions, like the most positive and negative points. So voice messages can really be a good way for you, as I said before, to really grasp how they are feeling through their tone of voice. So maybe you can do a combination of all of these in order to really create a good user journey.
Thank you very much, Via. And I think that was the last one. Gemma is saying that she's going to apply it. esa combinación que nos estaba mencionando en lo digital, en las notas de voz, en los aspectos emocionales que tienen de las personas y de los mismos humanos que nosotros estamos investigando para diseñar esos puntos de contacto. So I want to really thank you with the bottom of my heart. Thank you very much for your time, for sharing with us your knowledge, your expertise. We feel super honored. It was such a pleasure to have you with us. So thank you again, Beatriz. It was wonderful. I know that all of our Flipados are feeling super happy with what you have shared, the things that we need to really think about, of course. And I'm going to thank them. Muchísimas gracias, chicos, a todos por su participación, por sus preguntas tan chéveres, tan en el punto, para que pudiéramos destilar más a profundidad cómo trabajar con la etnografía digital. De verdad que fue un espacio, creo yo, de mucho aprendizaje y sobre todo de ver estos casos reales que Beatriz nos traía sobre la mesa desde su óptica y su perspectiva. They are saying muito obrigada, Beatriz, para usted. So thank you then again. I know that you have something to share with us about how we could follow you and your work.
Yeah, so first of all, I would like to thank you again, Natalia and Flipa Consultora, for the invitation. For me, it was amazing, this experience. I hope you have all enjoyed the same way as I did. And thank you very much, guys, for your questions, for interacting with me. And here I'm also, if you want to add me on LinkedIn or follow me on Medium, and I mean, if you want to share or to ask more questions afterwards, I will be more than happy to talk to you all. And I really hope we can all keep in touch. And thank you very much again, Natalia. Muito obrigada.
I adore it. Thank you. And of course, si quieren mantenerse en contacto con Vía, ya lo saben, pueden agregarla, seguirla. Ella en Medium, por ejemplo, comparte, y en LinkedIn también, información súper interesante sobre investigación digital. Eu vou tentar me despedir em português, mas eu não sei. Na verdade, que eu agradeço muito, muito o seu tempo. E obrigada, muito obrigada, Beatriz.
Perfeito, não precisa de nenhuma ferramenta de tradução.
De tradução, Google Translate. Muchísimas gracias, chicas.
I really love it. Thank you for Portuguese, guys. I really appreciate.